the nominations that are happening in Busia County, where ODM aspirant for the position of Governor Paul Otuoma has reported to the police false claims that he had decamped from the opposition. With the ODM nominations in the county happening today, Otuoma has showed up at the police station with newspaper headlines and campaign posters showing that he had joined Jubilee. I want to show you some of those pictures coming up on your screen just a bit to see the propaganda that was happening there and the alleged decamping to Jubilee, which is one of the things that has taken place in Busia. The party primaries were supposed to begin at 6 a.m., but there was a bit of a delay considering that there were some members of parliament, to be specific, whose names weren't on the ballot paper. So the returning officer had to cancel out those names and write them in using a pen so that it's clear who's vying and who's vying for which position at what point. But what you're seeing on your screen right now are propaganda machines. First of all, I think it's very important to mention that that is not really the headline of the Daily Nation, but that is part of the circulation that was going on there, and it's one of the allegations that Paul Otuoma is trying to fight right now. And I'll be giving you a more comprehensive story on that in just a bit, as we also wait for Ouko Kusa to get to Busia so that he can give us the latest update from the ground. Remember, the incumbent, that's Peter Ojamong, is also still vying again. He's running for the same seat, and he's mentioned earlier on, he's been caught on camera saying, in fact, saying that Paul Otuoma is indeed a Jubilee project, so to speak. We'll also be giving you details of that in just a bit. But joining me in studio now is Kennedy Murray. He's our parliamentary reporter and also very well versed with political reporting. Ken, what do you make of that? Is this something we should expect going into the political scene? Have you seen this before? What do you make of that, the propaganda machine that's happening? Just on the day of the primaries, then now all of a sudden the leaflet circulating that someone has decamped to this party and the other party. Is this something we should expect?
Trevor, one of the tools that you have to use in politics is propaganda. And if propaganda is able to get you ahead of the rest, why not use it? So this is just one of the things that Otuoma should have expected would have happened to him, or he should have anticipated something like this so that he himself would have come up with a retaliation. Look, he's going to the police with such evidence. I have looked at the newspaper today, and the Nairobi edition at least has Raila Party under fire in NASA cracks. But I do not want to believe that that's our headline. You can even look at the pictures and you'll see that this is something that has been imposed on the newspaper. Now, these are things that have been happening. Even leaflets, you remember even in the 2007 elections, just as we were going, some of the leaflets that were circulating in areas where there were some tribes, you will see that they were being told that you need to move away from this area and this is not your area, you need to go back home. So the circulation of leaflets when it comes to an electioneering period is not something new. And these are some things that we've been seeing. You'll remember also in Machakos. In Machakos, the person who was running for governor then, that is Governor Alfred Mutua, there was circulation, there was propaganda that he had joined Jubilee. And he used that as a sympathy to get votes from those people who are trying to link him to that particular party at that particular time. So propaganda is not new when it comes to politics. Yeah. Now, how you come out or how you use that propaganda to your advantage is what will really make you ahead of the pack. Yeah,
and it's interesting because the nominations in Busia, it means that it's alleged to be an opposition stronghold. But before we give you answer that question on whether this particular propaganda is working for him or against him, really you've seen that happening there. And of course, Paul Otuoma saying that he knows that's not the Daily Nation headlines and is denying having decamped. But what is that meant to do? Is it meant to catapult him, or is it being that Busia is alleged to be a stronghold for the opposition, then it's almost a sure shot that he would miss it?
It's two-pronged. Yeah. It might work for him, just as we've said earlier, or it might work against him. Yeah. Remember, for him to have woken as early as he did to go to a police station to ask them to carry investigations on such a matter, it means that he's not taking it lightly. Remember, just as you've said, is that it is an opposition stronghold. I'm looking at those pictures that have just been on air, and there is a photo of Otuoma in the middle. Then there is a Babu, who's the latest convert. Then there is the Jubilee duo, and they're really trying to link him to a Babu to this extent. He knows, even when police start investigating, The only way that they can be able to say is maybe if somebody saw them try to drop these leaflets. So it is also a very tough case for him if he tries to go ahead with the investigations. But he says, in that clip that you've just played, he says that he is confident that he is going to come on top if the nominations are done. Remember, these two are confidants of the party leader, the ODM party leader, Raila Odinga. You'll remember that Funyula MP, there's a time he wanted to move out of ODM. He had actually even, resigned as a party official so that him and Ababu started moving away from the party. So such linkages are only trying to lend credence to what happened at that particular time, and they're trying to see, to have him with that tag. But you'll remember that immediately he said that he wants to come back to ODM, Raila actually went and had lunch in his home, just to say that you're still my friend, you're still a party confidant, you're still one of us. So such linkages might hurt him in the long run, because maybe the people on the ground do not feel like he's a trusted lieutenant, just by that time that he moved away from the party. But it is something that we can wait and see. And these party primaries, I've also had, there was a car that was burnt today morning, and it had ballot papers in that particular region. So this is something that we are expecting to see so much happening in these regions that are strongholds of a particular political party. Remember, party primaries are starting today, and all the political parties, yesterday we did a story and we said around 20-something political parties have complied. Now, all these 25 political parties will be carrying out their nominations within this period. So such scenarios are something that we are going to see replicated. Remember, there is nothing new in politics even these days. What we are seeing has happened in Busia is likely to happen in another region. As long as people feel like they want to go to power, they will use any method. Remember also, Parliament has also given their members of Parliament recess at this particular time so that they can concentrate on these primaries. So in the long and short of it is that it is not something new. The ODM, the Orange Democratic Party, is supposed to have a press conference at around 11 just to talk about these matters. They have sent a statement to newsrooms, and they are saying that, yes, it is happening, but they are watching. And they will take action against some of these people who would want to cause trouble. Remember, ODM is we're also expecting the party to come out clear today. And there's a disciplinary committee that was set up just to look at who is spanning this violence that has been, remember in Migori, there was some violence that was reported. So the political parties have to rein in on this. It becomes a remedy. In Teso South and the other Teso, the party has said that nominations started late. The primary started late, and it is something that they are looking at. So the long and short of it is that nominations are going to be murky. Remember, this is about leadership. This is about politics. It is the strongest who survive.
But will that then have a trickle-down effect? But speaking of the elections, I'm joined on phone by Jeanette Mohammed. He's the Director of Elections for ODM. Thanks for making time for us, Honorable.
Thank you. Thank you, Trevor.
We've seen some violence already happening in places like Busia. The Deputy Governor's vehicle was smashed. What are you doing to make sure that the primaries run smoothly?
No, things are going on well. It's just reported a few incidents, and that's the police is looking into that matter. And I think generally things have started well. And, like the turnout are good, and people are coming out to vote, and we expect a good nomination process today in those 3 counties.
What do you make of the leaflets that were alleging that Paul Otuoma has defected to Jubilee? Is this something that has been brought to your attention?
Yeah, you see, this is politics, and people do many things. They even go to, Muganga, to witchcraft. So you expect many things to happen, and I think it needs to be investigated and get to know. Looks like the Nation newspaper can help someone to win an election. I don't know why they decided to use the Nation. So I think it's a matter that's under investigation, and we cannot apportion blame now for as early as now, because the matter just came out this morning.
Yeah.
So it's under investigation. Then they will come out. The board will come out with a solution to it.
Honorable, there have been allegations that ODM has preferred candidates, and therefore you have a way of giving them the preferred ticket. Is that true?
I don't think so. If ODM has preferred candidates, they won't waste their money to do nominations. It's costing ODM a fortune to do those nominations across the country.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money, I can tell you, in terms of preparation, staff, ballot papers, and many things. So I don't think they will intend to do that when they know that the best candidate and so who can win this state. They will have just given him a direct ticket. So it's just a propaganda that has been used against ODM in 2007, 2013, and now people want to still perpetuate the same propaganda. And I think this time it will not work. ODM is ready to do credible nominations and give the ticket to the winner.
There are, however, some statements by, you've given some direct nominations, for example, to the Nairobi Governor, Evans Kidero, and that the Jubilee government has said that shows that there's no democracy in ODM. You pretty much decide who you want to give and you just give them.
I think Jubilee, I thought that they are not living in this country, or maybe they are doing that out of panic, knowing that ODM has moved ahead of them. The people who were given tickets, including the governor of Nairobi, were people who didn't have opponents. They were the sole candidates who applied for that position in the party. So do you do a nomination against them with ghost or something? Jubilee should know that they should get to their sentence and know that those people were unopposed. They don't have candidates who are running against them. Those are the only people who are given tickets because they are unopposed. Not that they were given direct tickets, actually.
All right.
They were given tickets because they were not opposed by anyone, whether he was an MCA, governor, senator, member of parliament, woman rep.
So what happens then should one of the candidates in this particular Busia nominations claim that the process was unfair? Do you then nullify the entire thing, or what happens?
No, we will cross that bridge when we reach there. Why are you expecting that?
Because already Paul Otuoma has mentioned that there's some allegations of this process being unfair. And it hasn't even started, but he's already mentioned it.
To say this process is unfair at this time in point, because it is too early now. It's still barely 10 o'clock in the morning, and the nomination will go on up to 5 o'clock in the evening. So I don't think somebody in his normal senses will say that the nominations are unfair as early as 9 a.m. in the morning. And some of the polling stations have just opened.
Before I let you go, Honorable, there's an allegation between the ODM disciplinary committee having not been very stern on the people themselves. They get away with maybe a slap on the wrist after all the allegations and violence. What is your reaction to that?
I think there are party organs who deal with those matters. Central Management Committee and the National Executive Committee of the party.
But you're the director of elections there, so you would know if the ODM, do you think they were being too lenient?
No, well, when the disciplinary committee do their recommendations, they are supposed to report to those two organs of the party. So those two organs will look into the issues and come up with a proper communication on how they feel about what the disciplinary committee has done.
All right. Thanks for making time for us. That's Junet Mohammed, Director of Elections, ODM. And Kennedy Muredi is still with me, and we're still talking about the ODM nominations in Busia. We'll be crossing over to Zacchaeus Masame and Ouko Kusa, who are going to be on the ground to speak to some people there and find out what their expectations are and whether the nominations has actually started. But Muredi, in your own experience, we've seen the regional coordinator and the police warning people against violence. Has that ever worked?
To some extent, it doesn't. Because we see, despite the heavy police presence, violence still happens when they are still there. You see, like Zacchaeus Musame, who's given us a very comprehensive report of what is happening on the ground, is that there is heavy police presence. Now, this is only when people are voting. What will happen when it comes to vote counting? Because that is when it really counts. That is when things really happen. Because they'll be guarding outside the tallying center, and people inside the tallying center. That is why it will be happening. But we do hope that this time round, as the Director of Elections, Junet Mohammed, has said, is that we are expecting that maybe there is going to be a change. and maybe that some person who's going to be defeated in this process is going to say that I have been defeated, clear in a very square game. But already, when someone is raising concerns just before the elections even start, know that that is recipe for something. But we do hope that the process goes on as clear as possible, as it has said. Remember, in the report that we've also seen, is that Zacchaeus Musame has said that the county vehicles are the ones that were supplying, or they are the ones that were going littering the streets with these leaflets that alleged that Otuoma has moved to Jubilee. So you see, this is somebody who's already wounded. What will they do?
Yeah. And that's interesting, because the other issue is that if we see this violence now, in your own experience as a reporter who deals with elections most of the time, is it likely to trickle down to the main elections as well? Because that is the one main concern that most Kenyans have, that even if when the elections are done, how is it going to pan out?
We've seen so many messages of peace that are circulating all over, even on social media. And we can only hope, at the time we can only hope, that one, our politicians are able to sign a document. In June, the IEBC is planning that there is going to be a big function whereby all the major political people, all politicians will sign a document that will make sure that they themselves agree to maintain peace, decorum, and order when it comes to elections. And that is going to be a binding document. We hope so. And we can only hope that the elections are not going to drive Kenya further into anarchy, but on the right path of recovery when it comes to August.
Speaking of that, on Tuesday you were at the Baptist Church, whereby some of the members of aspirants who are also Christians were saying that they want to change the narrative. What is their plan on that, and how far are they with it?
It was an interesting view that we as news people are giving, because these are some of the messages that we really need to see. When that invite came to the newsroom and we headed there, we saw change. The number of people that had come there were not as many as we expected, but the Christians who are coming out and they want change is that they were committing themselves into something that they say, number one, we are going to commit not to do things differently. Doing things differently in the sense that we are not going to engage in corruption. We are not going to tell our people to go out and fight for us. I'll give you an example of someone who was there at that particular function, who says that in 2013 he contested the elections. Now, the funny bit is his election certificate was taken by someone else who had more money than he did. But the electorate who are favoring him started beating him. And he said that for some time he felt a sense of happiness when he saw that person being beaten. But then again, he asked himself, do I really want to see this person being beaten or being killed because of the kind of politics that I play? Now, if all of us as Kenyans and politicians who are gunning for various political positions will come out and actually say that we are committed to not having violence in this country, then we are going to be going in a different direction. Remember in 2013, people expected that we would go into fighting. Kenyans decided to go the other way. And that is even the people, even musicians from other countries, there is a video that is circulating on social media. Somebody is singing about the bastion of peace that Kenya is. If us as political journalists, if us as media houses, if politicians undertake to make sure that they are going to conduct their elections in decorum, then it is going to change the narrative. Yeah. We wait to see. The nominations are just starting. Remember, this is ODM. ODM nominations are spread out. There are specific areas where nomination is being done today. Remember, Jubilee is doing their nominations on one day. That is the 21st day of April. We do not know what is going to happen because there are areas whereby it is believed that the competition is so stiff and the stakes are so high that nobody wants to go to political oblivion. Mm-hmm. And if nobody wants to go to political oblivion, that is what is driving them to do the things that they are doing, to hire goons, to hire young people, just to stand up for them as their army.
Yeah, and you're on the ground a lot. How do you get that balance between objectivity and the truth? Because we've also seen certain politicians say one thing and then the next day they say, that is not what I meant. And you are expected to report on that. So how do you balance between the objectivity and telling the truth as it is?
Nation has an agenda.
Yeah.
Nation has a nation has what it calls the qualities of what they look for in a story. There is some things that even politicians will say outside there, and I as a political journalist will not publish. And I'll come tell my editor, this is what has happened on the field, but we cannot publish this. Because in the 2007 elections, the media was blamed so much for what happened and in fanning the violence that was there, that we cannot go through that path again. Remember, we are so tribal that also on social media, people have started retreating to their tribal cocoons. So it is us as journalists to strike that balance to make sure that what we report is not something that is going to go to cause trouble in this country. But there is that world that has now gotten into the social media, whereby citizen journalism is now trying to overtake this standard media, what we do. And maybe that is the area where we're supposed to, maybe, one, train or have regulations to make sure that people do not go into social media and fan violence.
All right. And one of the things you've also mentioned is corruption. And I know you deal with people on the ground a lot. What are they saying? Are they still for the narrative that lazima ninunuliwe lunch ndio nikuone kando?
Politicians even themselves say it. They say it that these people come to listen to us because they know they will go home with a packet of unga. That is why they come to their political rallies. That is why even some of these people come out to vote, because they've been given an incentive. It is a culture that we have as Kenyans. It is a culture that was even tried to be fought in parliament, and it failed miserably. Remember, they wanted to remove this culture of Harambee. It was a bill that was even sponsored by the Kisumu Senator, Anyang' Nyong'o, in the Senate. Yeah. In the Senate, it flopped. In the National Assembly, it also flopped. So, as Kenyans, we have gotten used to this. Remember also there were regulations that were brought about by the IEBC whereby it was going to Harambees stopped. You'll remember that the deputy president was going to Harambees every weekend. Yeah. It has stopped because it was said that these 8 months to the elections, nobody should be engaging in Harambees because it will be misconstrued to mean that you as the politician, you're trying to buy the loyalty of this electorate so that you can skew their votes towards you.
All right.
Remember what is now happening. Even somebody has gone to court right now to question why Jubilee has launched the portal. So these are things that we are likely to see so much. Remember also the opposition has called a press conference to say that the government is doing 1, 2, 3 things that are not in line with what Kenyans should be expecting. So it is political season, and what Junet has said is that you cannot remove propaganda from this. Okay. It is only you to make sure that you can play your game safely or better than your opponent so that you can win over the hearts of the electorate.
All right. Who is fooling who here? Because Agnes Zani owned up to that leaked document, which part of it is what we aired, showing the lineup of Raila Odinga as the flag bearer, Kalonzo Musyoka as the deputy, and of course Musalia Mudavadi as the chief minister, and then there's Moses Wetangula as the speaker of the National Assembly. But they are all saying that they don't own up to that, but she owned it up. So who's fooling who here?
One thing you have to know, Trevor, in politics, just as we've been discussing since morning, is that there are several tools that you use to your advantage. Number one, it might be true that there are wrangles within the National Super Alliance. Two, these wrangles might be manufactured by their opponents to bring down the coalition, the alliance. Three, these cracks may be manufactured by themselves so that they can bring themselves out of a crisis. Number four, they might have realized that the lineup is out there, but let us keep Kenyans guessing on our next move so that we can make sure that even when we'll be releasing this lineup, Kenyans will still be anticipating. But remember, there was a meeting yesterday between Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka and ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi, and this meeting is of significance at this particular time. You'll remember about 2 months ago, there was also another leaked document that had proposed a candidature of the pair within NASA. So these are just lineups maybe the National Super Alliance is trying to put outside there so that as Kenyans, they can discuss. By the time they're giving you their lineup, you might either be shocked or you might be saying, oh, we knew. So these are some of the tricks that politicians employ just to make sure that they keep you glued to whatever they are doing at any one particular time.
One of the main issues that also came out from that lineup that we showed here on NTV is that what exactly does a chief minister do, and does it mean that they have to go into a referendum for that?
A chief minister, you do not necessarily need to go to a referendum. I don't believe so, because this is a position that you will just create. The Jubilee government created 18 ministries. The Constitution says that you can have up to 25 ministries. So among these 18, if NASA wins the elections, they might decide to either keep the 18 ministries that were there under Jubilee, create their own ministries to take them to 25, or create 24. Then the 25th one, they make a chief minister who will be in charge of all the ministers, like the Prime Minister was under the National Accord within the 2008-2013. So these are complexities just to make sure that there is nobody who misses out on it. Remember, all of them are calling themselves principals. So you do not want to make a principal feel lesser than the other. So the only thing they'll do is that they will have a pair who are going to be on the elections, that is president and deputy. Then Wetangula, according to that leaked document that is now that has now become a subject of dispute, is either going to choose a ministry that he feels is going to choose a house to represent that he feels comfortable. He can either be the Speaker in the National Assembly or Speaker in the Senate, where he is now a minority leader.
Okay. And before I let you go, Mredi, you've mentioned that all of them are calling themselves principals, and every single one of them has said that I'm the best placed to run this NASA into victory. So, but the question is this then for their own selfish interest, or is it for the people's interest? Because essentially, if they're a unit as NASA, it means they share the same principles. But how come each and every one of them wants to be the one to be the flag bearer?
You'll remember that even Kenyan politics is local. It has been repeated by politicians out there, but it is also something that I have learned in my years of reporting. Politics is local. You'll remember Mother Karua was also a very firm supporter of the opposition. But when she decided that she wants a political seat in her Kirinyaga backyard, she had to change the tune and sing praises of the Jubilee government, which since 2013, when she lost the presidential election, she came out to defend vehemently, and she was hitting it at that particular time. So politics is local. All these four principles within the National Super Alliance outfit have a backing from their communities.
All right.
And these are communities that do have numbers. Kalonzo Musyoka in the recent past has been bragging after the release of results of election result, registration results by the IEBC, has been bragging that the Kamba vote right now is at 2.5 million. So he feels like he has gathered enough clout to make sure that he can become a principal and run for an election on himself. Remember, in the 2013 elections, the person who won the presidency had about 6 million votes. If he is able to convince the 2.5 million voters in his Ukambani backyard to support him, then get another 1 million or 2 million, then you have many people who are running for election at that particular time in August. He might even become a president. That's why he feels entitled to this NASA flagship.
All right.
So do these other people. Remember, Musalia Mudavadi was also a presidential candidate in 2013. He feels there is no other seat that will suit him best, if not the presidency. The only way up, the only way is up and not down.
All right.
Moses Wetangula has been a member of parliament. He has been a senator. So he also feels that the only way is up. That is why they come together. But just speaking on this story that I did yesterday, you'll remember that Kalonzo has been able to gather enough clout in the recent past and tried to pull the rug from under Raila Odinga, who has, since 2013, been the maestro of opposition.
Okay.
And they want to take over from what has been.
All right. Thanks, Ken.